All right. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Kenneth Bryce on Sunday, December 17th, Psychiatric Sobriety Zoom call on a Sunday morning. I'm here with Jody. I'm here with Marcy. We've been doing this for over 2 years. We got over 100 of these on the internet. My 5-minute introduction. Who am I? Why do we assemble? Uh, I'll tell you why we're assembling now. We're assembling because of Marcy down there. Smile, Marcy, although you're not going to be on the camera. We're smiling because God sent her to say, Kenneth, keep going. She said some very profound, she sent me some very profound messages that have been encouraging, telling me to keep going. Because I've got a very powerful message, but because I'm not a spiritual teacher, I just put it all out there and it's not being spoon fed. And I fear often that it's way too much, but I'm just going to go out and just keep recording these as long as people show up, because what has happened to all of us, what we allowed to have happen, or what was written in our script, needs to be documented. Most of us bought into the allopathic model that we had mental illness. Most of us allowed the psychiatrists to administer medications, and most of us, began to realize that we weren't mentally ill, and there had to be a better way, and subsequently had to get off their meds. I'm telling my story here, folks. I'm 56, and I haven't had a pharmaceutical in almost 7 years. But for 25 years of my life, I was a chemical soup. And the way to emerge from that has been documented. The way I emerged from that has been documented in over 100 Zoom calls. And I want to share it with the world, because when I realized I had to start getting off all those pills, what I saw people that were drowning. I was drowning too. By the grace of God, a lot of hard work and courage and faith and a lot of help from angels, angelic assistance, I emerged above all that, and to this day, I ask myself the question, why am I still here? I'm still here, got a purpose now. And inside of that purpose, part of that purpose has to be shared. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay. So, one of the things about mental illness is a lot of things. Let me just go forward. Okay. I have to put disclaimers in here because we're here as we're peace troubadours, basically. And peace troubadours are like Mother Teresa, who said, I will not attend an anti-war rally, but invite me to a peace rally. Okay. That being said, we're not here to protest psychiatry. As a matter of fact, for most of us, I'll tell you one thing, psychiatry may have saved us. Those pills saved this man's life. It's just a balance, and we all found that balance. We're sharing that balance. Is when is enough enough? And when is it time to let go of that crutch and to really find out what's going on and heal? I don't like the word heal, but I've replaced it with the word emerge. But heal is what the word people often use. So that's my 3-minute introduction. I'm having a rough time today, but we'll go into all that. But we'll start off the Zoom call with the healer's prayer, because I didn't emerge through the secular route, and all of us in the Zoom call have realized the secular is inside. That's the character on the movie screen trying to cure the character on the movie screen. Eventually, we realize there's got to be a better way. We've got to get off the screen. So, since I'm a Course in Miracles student, I say the healer's prayer. And it goes like this. We are here only to be truly helpful. And we are here to represent him or her who sent us. We do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he or she who sent us will direct us. We are content to be wherever he or she wishes, knowing that he or she goes there with us. We will be healed. We let him or her teach us how to heal. Okay, I don't know if I can come into this Zoom call this morning with anything brand new. I'm here in North Carolina, and I spent the last 5 days helping my godfather. I get to help my godfather, my 84-year-old godfather, rewire his house. It's an honor and a privilege. And if it makes me exhausted, and if it makes me tired, and if it makes me grumpy, I'm going to do it anyway, because I am just thrilled that Spirit has sent this assignment in. But anyway, I'm going back to Pittsburgh tomorrow. I'm going to drive home. And it's a continuation of last week, okay? Because of the cohabitation situation that I am in Pittsburgh, I got work to do. And all of us are Course in Miracles students, and we're followers of various teachers. We're followers of David Hoffmeister, Keith Kavanaugh, Calico Hickey. So I'm hanging tight to these teachers now who are giving me the boots on the ground work to do. I got to allow these feelings. I'm not going into storytelling, all right? There's lots of stories, and I've realized that not a single one of them is true. But the feelings themselves, relationships are what brought my mental illness on years ago, decades ago. And so I was placed on all those pills. No more pills. I get to try it again. I get to see. I'm very careful with my language, and I'm going through it. That was even one of the title of one of our Zoom calls. We've got to go through this, and I've got to drop everything that I think I know about relationships, and feel the feelings themselves. And I don't like it. I'm scared. I don't know what it is, but I know I can do it, and I know I will do it. And Marcy, and you too, Jody, you've given me a platform to I don't want to use the word emote. You've by showing up, you're providing me a platform. Thank you to both of you. That's about all I can as far as I can go this morning. Maybe there will be more. Spirit's not telling me to talk anymore. I do have some good news. David Hoffmeister called me out of the blue on Friday and told me that my ordination ceremony is on the 5th of January. I didn't expect it, and I didn't ask for it. But he's gonna make me a minister of his nonprofit. Okay, so like I was writing Marcy this morning, we all get grist. My friend Laverne and I, we talk about grist. Grist is the push. This cohabitation situation I'm in is the push. But when David Hoffmeister calls me in with his big smiley face and says your ordination ceremony is on the 5th, that's the pull. Okay, we're all going through this together, hand by hand. Maybe it's not the right use of the term chain of atonement, but I like the word chain of atonement. All right. I'm going to turn the call over to you. Forgive me if I do some sketching right now, but it's keeping me grounded. So the floor is yours. How's everybody? You're up, Marcy, because Jody's muted herself.
You said that your ceremony's on January 5th.
Yeah.
Where is it going to be?
Zoom.
Yeah. So we can attend?
I'd love it, Marcy. I would be so honored. Listen, part of my, everybody knows the story. Or maybe I will share a little bit. All right, since you guys seem to listen to what I have to say. I'm not going to come in here all Debbie Downer, but I will be honest. But I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer. I got a huge download. These downloads, people think, downloads, slow down. Downloads, bring with them a great weight of responsibility. I don't care what anybody else says. Mine do, at least. I've been telling the story about my family for too many decades. As a matter of fact, I'm sick of it too. Stories. I'm not against storytelling, because we got to tell a story until we're sick of it. But I was sick of my own. Instead of telling the story, I said, there's got to be, since I've been telling it so many times, it's got to be the movie screen story, but there's got to be something underneath the one I'm telling myself. And I got it this week. And it's because of this cohabitation, thought it might be a relationship, that I got it. See, this is why our brothers are our saviors. This man I'm living with in Pittsburgh is my savior. My father didn't disown me. It's the old story. Father was afraid I would abandon him. I know that story is true because how it makes me feel. The old story took me into a loop-de-loop where I went insane. The new story carries with it a fog of understanding, compassion, and sadness, which means the story's about to dissipate. You can be free. Isn't that what we all want? Be free. And I say it's because of the cohabitation situation, because whether we like to, this is hard for people who are on the forgiveness path, but take it from someone who's been on it, longer than I am my father. And this man, the feelings that came up in this cohabitation situation brought that point home clear. Just a frightened little boy afraid of abandonment. So what's the message we've been saying, over 100 Zoom calls for the last 2 years? It's reconnection. Because who's not going to abandon us? Talking about faith, I know Mary's going to say something. Mary, hi, Mary. Mary, I'm kind of schlepping, struggling. So maybe you'll have something inspirational to say. It's just good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Inject some light, because I'm kind of a I feel like I've got some 100-pound weights on my shoulder right now, but you always inject light into our calls.
Well, that's sweet.
That's cool.
We all go through those ups and downs, and sometimes for me it's several times throughout the day. My dad was an emotional guy, and yet he was always very positive. But he wasn't afraid to feel the emotion and be honest about it. And he would say sometimes he'd be like, I get up in the morning and I feel all this stuff on me, and I feel unhappy and depressed. And he said, but during the day, I just shrug it off. He'd say he was very good at putting love out toward other people and letting other people see how much beauty he saw in them. And he was contagious that way. And pretty soon they'd start feeling better about themselves, and then I think he would feel better about himself. But I don't know. I only heard like seconds of what you said, so.
No, you do know, Mary. We come in here with a lot of complicated metaphysics, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. Part of the reason I came out here is I lost him. Did I lose a relationship with my father? No, I gained a relationship with my godfather. Okay. And he says the same thing. It's very simple for him. As a matter of fact, sometimes he'll wag his finger at me, tell me to let it go, drop it. Your father had that formula. We don't need all these complicated metaphysics.
Yeah.
But what does it take to just let it go? So this is where I can't judge Christianity anymore, because God damn it, a lot of those Christians had nailed it. You get on your knees and you pray and you ask for help. I mean, I get, sometimes we go in, Course in Miracles student. It won't work if you try and bring the light into the darkness. Got to bring the darkness to the light. Well, at this stage in our development, we're ready for that. But how many people did wake up out of the dream? Maybe they didn't wake up out of the dream, but how many people found their purpose, even if they had something as clunky as a religion based on a 2,000-year-old, desert mythology book, excuse my language. How many people did? That's humble pie for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was falling apart 2 weeks ago, when the news came in that no relationship was going to, be germinating out of this cohabitation situation, I fell apart. What did I do at 6:30 in the morning? I called my friend. I'm not going to mention any names. Who, by the way, was a hardcore Christian. I went over her house, and I just cried and screamed for 60 minutes, and she held the space.
Yeah,
that's humbling, folks. Part of the reason I'm using the Zoom call is to I don't like the word confess, disclose. No, part of the Course in Miracles says you've got to bring the darkness out. And one of the ways I'm using the Zoom call is I'm going public and I'm sharing everything that I was thinking and believing that got me into that quagmire, because I want out of that quagmire, or I don't want out of it. I want to disbelieve it. And this is why you're all my angels. Mm-hmm. That's why it's also a 12-step format, hybrid Course in Miracles, because this is what we did in those rooms, and it worked. We didn't need complicated metaphysics in the 12 steps, because we had love. And that was the message I got. My godfather just got up. He's a Vietnam War vet. His isn't gone either. This stuff doesn't go away. Keith Kavanaugh was very good this week, and he made that point poignantly clear. This crazy mad voice speaking to myself, talking to itself inside of my head, has not gone away. I now realize I have a choice, more of a choice, as to what voice to listen to. Part of my mental illness, and Keith Kavanaugh has pegged it, along with all my other teachers, I see it clearly. I was trying to silence the voice. I was trying to deny the voice. I was judging the voice. I was trying to heal the voice. And the data was in. I just got sicker. And maybe I didn't get sicker, but things just kept repeating over. The same people kept showing up over and over and over. They just took different forms. Okay. Now, and this is, Marcy, I think this is what you're referring to at Ideas Time Has Come. I'm not that voice. That's where my work is. Who am I? Thanks, Jody, for nodding. That's what started this whole ministry 2.5 years ago, as I said, who you are cannot be damaged. Poof. People started coming, people said, you got a message, we're curious, tell us about it. Well, if I'm going to tell you about it, I'm going to have to practice it on this end. And sometimes I believe, if I was not believing that I was a dream character, I would be coming on here with a lot more love and light, like my godfather had this morning. But I'm going to tell you all, I still have a lot of beliefs that are weighting very heavily right now. And so I'm handing this stuff over to Jay big time. And it's working. I had anxiety. I had a pretty significant anxiety yesterday, but because of this foundation, I went over the couch and just started focusing on my breathing. I can do that now. I can trust that by focusing on the breathing, taking the attention away from the thinking and onto the breathing, Keith Kavanaugh, because you see what Keith Kavanaugh did? He went before. He healed himself. I won't listen to somebody with a spiritual formula who hasn't healed themselves. Won't work. I won't listen to him. Keith Kavanaugh healed himself from an anxiety disorder. So he has my full attention. Share with me how you did it. And that's what I hope to spread with these archives, is this is how I'm doing it. How we're doing it. 12 Steps used to say, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. I've made all the mistakes in the world, folks. Dream characters. Who are we?
Okay, I'll jump in on that. I finally discovered who I'm not. I'm not this body.
So that's actually wise. That's the netty. I won't speak anymore.
Yeah, I'm not this body. I'm not this ego. I'm not this insane voice talking to itself. I'm the one that's aware. I'm the witness. I'm the non-judgmental awareness. There's so much peace in that. There's so much peace. The chaos is happening still. You can't stop the storm. We're watching images on a screen. Can't fucking fix anything here. Even if something had gone wrong, which it hasn't, it's all perfectly happening for us. There's nothing to fix. We're watching images on a screen. And who we really are cannot be touched by images on a screen. That's how simple it is. There's no need for complicated metaphysics.
Yeah.
And it is a choice. I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. It's a choice. It's a decision. Like Kenneth said, we get to choose which teacher we watch the screen with. It's that simple. And it's really easy. Because it's just that one thing. We're just choosing against the ego. We're just choosing against it. We're watching it do its thing. We can't stop it do its thing. We're just watching it do its thing. Watching the chaos.
Hmm.
And we're not doing it alone. We can't do it alone. We do it with Jesus or Holy Spirit, whichever your symbol is, the right mind. These aren't symbols outside of us. These are symbols of the right mind. There's only one mind here. One insane thought system, ego, and one mind, Christ. I've been doing this unwind for 7 weeks. We just finished the 7th week. ACIM peer support with Jody. I don't know what anything is for. Thank fucking God. My note of the day, lean in, trust the process. Lean in, trust the process. Terrifying for the ego, but I'm not the ego. It's only terrifying for the ego, and I am not the ego. And once I get that, it took me a long time to get that. I am not this body. I am not the ego. I'm the dreamer of the dream. Kenneth Wapnick, YouTube, Dreamer of the Dream. I've watched it 20 times. I fucking get it. I get it. I'm the dreamer of the dream. I'm not this body. And once you get that, it's so simple. But getting that is complicated because the ego can't get it. And so while I'm still identifying as an ego, I can't get that because my ego can't get it. The ego cannot not judge. That's what the ego does, it judges. So again, just choose. The whole course is choosing against the ego. It's the same lesson over and over and over and over again. Choose against the ego. Learn to see it. Learn to recognize the difference. Learn that you are a split mind. Recognize the difference. Choose again. Choose against the ego. Don't touch it. Don't try to fix it. Just choose against it. That's how simple it is. No need for complicated metaphysics. The ego loves complicated metaphysics because it's a distraction from the truth and the simplicity of what we're doing here. We're choosing against the ego. That's it. Super simple. Super simple. And if it's hard, it's because I'm an ego trying to do the course. Egos can't do this course. It's too hard. One of the latest Kenneth Wapnick videos I just watched, he laid it out very simply for us. If you're having a hard time with this course, 2 reasons. It's either because you're being an ego, you're still identified as the ego and you're trying to do the course. That's impossible. Or it's because you're doing the Holy Spirit's job, which is to unwind the guilt, to undo the guilt. We can't do his job. That's his job to do. Our job is to bring the darkness to the light, to be willing to look at it without judgment. That's our job. That's how simple it is. So yeah, there's no need for complicated metaphysics here. It's all super simple and it's actually really easy. And if you don't believe me, then go watch Keith Kavanaugh videos. That comes from him. And not only does he tell you how easy it is, he shows you. And once you've been shown, once you do that, you get it. Once you get it, you get it. Keith Kavanaugh is a student of Kenneth Wapnick. So watch Kenneth Wapnick videos. If you don't know where to find them, go to Journey of the Lotus on YouTube and check out my ACIM Rescue Mission playlist. It's got like 30 videos on it. And then while you're at it, check out the ACIM peer support with Jody. It's all just been made public. All of it, everything I have has been made public. Jay told me, stop hiding. What a terrifying experience that is, going public. It says stop hiding. Because who wants to hide? My ego wants to hide. This insane thought system wants to hide. I'm not this insane thought system. I'm the one that's aware of it. And I choose against it. I see you. I'm not playing anymore. I'm so fucking sick and tired of this insane thought system. What a shit show. What a shit show. I don't have to fix it. It's not my job to fix it. Lean into that. There's nothing to fix. My transformation artist is freaking out inside as I say that. What do you mean? She's still at it. She's still at it. I'm not the insane thought system. I can be if I want to. I can jump back in there real quick. It's so easy to do it. It's so comfortable to jump into that suffering because it's what I know. I get to choose again. I get to choose again. I get to choose again right now. Choose again. Choose again. Choose again. So simple.
Beautiful.
I really like it that Jody, one of the things that you said that was kind of hit me is that we can't do this alone. And, you know, my experience for me, I think I talked about this in the last Zoom call or the time before that. I have a lot of blocks because of the way I was exposed to religion and concepts as a really young child. And so when I hear words, which are nothing, they represent something in my mind. And unfortunately, as sad as it might sound to some people, even a little bit to me, when I hear Jesus, I'm actually repelled.
Good.
And doesn't
Keep going.
mean that I'm repelled from the Christ mind. I'm repelled from the version of Jesus, quote unquote, that was presented to me and taught to me as a child. And that discomfort and aversion is keeping me and blocking me. And I recognize that. And I've been working on how do I connect? Because Jody said we can't do this alone, and we can't do it alone. And I know we can't do it alone. But how do you reach out and connect to something that you desperately need on your journey when you have this huge block, you know? And it was brought to my attention, by the way, Jody's group has been an absolute miracle. The healing that's going on in that group is really incredible. And what was brought to my awareness was that I identify Christ as a man, and that my conflicts and pain and abuse that seemingly have come from men in my life have further blocked that for me. So I went inward this week And it was actually after one of Jody's groups. And I was just reaching out, like, how do I dismantle this? And how do I build a bridge to connect to what I need and to what I am? And what was shown to me, I was given a substitution. So for me, substituting, like, instead of God, it's spirit. Instead of, these traditional Christian words that just rub me the wrong way. I mean, really. I was given, Marcy, every time you think of Christ or Jesus, every time you're in conversation with someone and they're referring to this relationship and this closeness that you're desiring, but you're repelling because you're so offended by the concept, it's not Jesus, it's not Christ. For me, radical love. What would Jesus do? What would radical love do? Exactly. Fireworks. Radical
God
love.
damn, that's beautiful. I'm sorry for crosstalk. I'm violating my own rules here.
No, go for it.
I sent Jody the clarity process earlier, but this isn't crosstalk. This is an atta girl. This is an atta girl and a thank you. Because that was the prayer right there, Marcy. And that was the prayer for all of us. Hi, Sean. We want to talk about Jesus being the trigger word. My friend in Mexico stood up in front of David Hoffmeister and said, I'm a gay man. You mentioned Jesus. None of my gay friends are going to come anywhere near you because you use the word Jesus. That was I got hurt. And I think it goes for all of us, and I'm not afraid to say it. I got hurt real bad by the Christians. But they did me the favor. Because David's introduced me to the real Jesus. Not the one they were telling me was hanging on a cross, dying for sins. One that I can really follow now. I'm sure Sean can speak to this. Sean, and by the way, you want to talk about support? It may not have been 3 a.m. on the West Coast, but it was 3 a.m. here in North Carolina. And Sean said, I only remember one thing he said. He said, that voice in your head's not telling you the truth. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. So speaking to this image that we were given in our minds about Jesus being a man, he is a gay man like Kenneth. Yes, I resisted that word. I've been a course student for 20 years and I resisted Jesus, and then in the circles of the course community for a long time. I just was like, I don't get it. What? I don't see Jesus. I don't. But anyway, so it was a big block for me, but I've had to come the same as you, Marcy, through prayer and asking to clarify this for me. Like, how can I see this differently? And it took a long time for me. I was very resistant. I had a lot of grievances against what I was taught as what Jesus is, and what God is, and but I definitely softened over time, and now I do feel like I have a relationship with that being of Christ. As Kenneth knows, like I take Jesus with me hiking. I take Jesus with me everywhere now, because now that I have a different interpretation in my mind that is more it's been like reinterpreted for me in my own mind through prayer. It's really through prayer. Um Not asking others, but really getting deep in myself and asking, like, I want to know, I want to have a relationship personally. And so yeah, I agree. I think it's more just totally what you exactly said, Marcy. It's just like this unconditional loving presence that there, and doesn't matter really. I don't know. To me, it's not male or feminine. It's not feminine or masculine. It's just unconditional love and presence, and certainly worked in my life. The more I surrender to it, the more I give myself over to it, the more I feel at peace and more joyful and more restful. And yeah, so yay. So I got here this morning. I wanted to say hi and share the good news. Back to you guys.
One of the I grew up as an atheist, which basically means that I grew up as an anti-Christian. And so I had a real hard time in the beginning with Jesus. What really helped me was I read Disappearance of the Universe before I picked up A Course in Miracles. And right away, through Arten and Persa, Jay, which I loved, like for the first several months, I didn't use the word Jesus. I said Jay because I liked that. It didn't trigger me, whereas Jesus and Holy Spirit, because they're so Christian, right? They're such Christian phrases. And I had grown up anti-Christian. And so what really helped me was that right away, Arten and Persa in The Disappearance of the Universe laid out the lies of Christianity, the fakeness of it, the untruths of those stories. And that was so helpful to me. That was so helpful to me to find out that there's a facade. And that's what I didn't believe in. So once I disidentified Jesus from Christianity, Jesus wasn't a Christian. Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. It's so, the whole story, Christianity, is so full of untruths. And so right away in The Disappearance of the Universe, he called all of that out. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's a whole different character. This Jesus dude that all of these stories that I made up in my head, the narratives, right? The identity that I gave him, it's all false. So between that and calling him Jay for the first several times and just doing the work and allowing, all of those stories and narratives to be unwound and to see through truth, see through truth. And I love that, Marcy, that just substitute it. If you're still having a hard time with Jesus or Holy Spirit or he, Kenneth, and for the healer's prayer, he says he, she. Like, so whatever, like, just substitute it. I love how you said love, right? Like, because Jesus is love, Holy Spirit is love. So if you have a problem with that word, just substitute it for love. And the healer's prayer, he. If you have a problem with that, like if you still haven't gotten that there is no masculine or feminine, it's just a symbol, just substitute. Do what you got to do to get through the blocks, because they're just blocks. Just be aware of them, be aware that that's what's going on, and be willing to look at it with Jesus or Jay or Holy Spirit or love or whatever symbol you choose.
I use all those terms. Jay, I from Arden Persa, I use J often. I used J for a long time as my primary symbol. And then but I've really settled in for myself, the Holy Spirit. I love that because I feel like it's just the higher version of, it's the oneness that we're all connected in my mind. So I like that. And I love putting together that, yeah, holy just means the oneness. And so it's the one self. So in my mind is kind of just, I like that terminology now for myself. But it's totally evolved. It's always evolving. Sometimes it's universe, sometimes it's just divine love. Sometimes it's source. Yeah, it's just all synonymous. Yeah.
I grew up in a family where grandpa was a minister of the Episcopal Church, and grandpa had an easygoing relationship with God from what I saw, and so did grandma. My dad had a very loving relationship with God and Jesus, and it was very natural for him. My mother, on the other hand, chafed against the whole thing. She was the preacher's daughter, and my mom was kind of born angry and rebellious, which I relate to some of that. But she never had a easy relationship with God. So she sought, I think, ultimately spirituality and things like astrology and things that she felt were rebellion against how she'd been brought up. And I was like stuck somewhere in the middle there. I remember resenting that it seemed like all the key players in the Bible were men and ticked me off. And I remember climbing into my grandfather's lap when I was about 10 and just giving him, presenting to him that, I didn't think this was right. Why wasn't Jesus a woman? And my grandpa was really cool. And he thought about it. He loved the question. And I remember he said, Mary, Jesus wasn't made a man. God didn't choose for Jesus to be a man because a man is better. He said, and they explained to me, so back in those days, if Jesus had been a woman, Jesus wouldn't have gotten the word out. Jesus would have been stoned to death. Jesus wouldn't have been able to travel through the desert with all these people. Jesus's word wouldn't have gotten out in that place and time, but that didn't mean that women weren't important. And he cited Mary Magdalene and Jesus's mother and other key figures, Deborah and some of the other women in the Bible. But I remember being, kind of angry. That just felt like church was all about men and things men did and things men said. And I was really, I think, under the surface, kind of angry with God and Jesus for a large portion of my life. I didn't go to church unless I was paid to play the piano there, play the organ. It was a gig. And I looked for spirituality outside of that. It really wasn't until I had my situation where I hit rock bottom, where God came to me and spoke to me. And I felt that God was not gendered or limited in any way. And I just felt it. And for the first time, and I'd read metaphysics, and I'd read all these accounts on spirituality and ideas about who God was, but it wasn't until I felt God communicating to me that God was so limitless and that God was entirely made of love and entirely made of understanding, that it was truly impossible to disappoint God. Truly impossible.
Yeah. Amen.
And that's when I got over being mad at God. Yeah. So when when Marcy was talking about her issues with Jesus being, a man and things like that, it reminded me of this Bible my grandparents gave me when I was confirmed, and I loved it. I ran in the other room and got it. Because one of the things I loved about it was that how they depicted Jesus was, I don't know if you can see this, was all these pictures of Jesus holding lambs or playing with children. And I thought that was really a beautiful way of portraying Jesus. So it always kind of, it was one of the things in my childhood that helped soften my attitude toward Jesus, was actually these photographs or these, you know, drawings. There's another one on the back I love. But just showing that nurturing side rather than, as you said, like someone crucified. Very hard to relate to that, especially when you're a child, as that someone that you could go to with your sorrows. How do you go to a crucified man with your sorrows and your problems? But you could go to a man who holds lambs and who plays with children. I don't know why I'm such a snob today. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't apologize. This is beautiful, Mary.
Something's coming up, I guess. I'm sorry.
Let it up, my dear. Let it up.
Because Mary, this is what I need to hear today too. Because I need Jesus to hold me today. Because I've been looking outside myself. Please love me. That's a sure sign I got to come back. And I don't know how to do that, but you're teaching me. I got to go back to those simple illustrations from Sunday school.
Yeah.
I've said it here before, you know, my story is no different than the prodigal son. I had to leave home. Do I need Jesus? Well, let me go figure it out for myself. And I gave it the old college try. And I'm here, you know, the data is in. I can't do it on my own. I got to have outside help. And I've worn out person after person. But there's one person that's never going to get worn out. That's our story too, Mary. And a humble pie too, because I'm going to be ordained on the 5th of January with Living Miracles. And I went onto their website, see what an ordained minister is. And guess what? He's removed the Course in Miracles from the Living Miracles website. And he did like he was going to warn us last year. He's gone back to Christian language, mystical Christian language, but Christian language nonetheless.
No, I think we can use any kind of language. I've been doing a deep dive into Anita Moorjani, and the gift that I've been given this week is like, okay, so I'm the weirdo. When I was a little girl, I used to answer the phone before it rang, and I was just the weird one, you know? And I learned through the mirrors around me that I was unacceptable and unlovable and creepy and weird, and people would rather me go stand in a corner. And I've carried that with me. And one of my prayers has been to please help me find my purpose. And what I realized is that I cannot fulfill my purpose until there's self-love in place. So Anita Moorjani's message, for anybody that doesn't know, she died of cancer and she came back. And the message that she brought with her was for us to love ourselves. And I've been going into this message. She has an amazing CD It's called Near Death Experience Meditation, and it sounds kind of creepy, but what it is it's an allowing and a softening and a letting go of these old messages and these old concepts and this old Christian Jesus that I have in my head and these messages that I'm not okay. And between her message and this group, I was able to rekindle something in me that I used to draw as a little girl. And I haven't touched art for many, many years. And then I'm going through these withdrawals. And I attempted to do some artwork, but nothing would come out. Like I didn't feel any spark left in me. And I listened to her message, and I went to the art store and I got some crayons and I drew a picture. And I didn't even know what I was drawing as I was doing it. And it ended up being the message of this ministry. It's a cocoon. And there's something emerging from the cocoon that's just so incredibly beautiful and full of light and full of spirit. And I went to the grocery store and they were out of something. And I was speaking to the lady in the produce department. And I connected with her. And she shared with me about her husband passing and about her son being very, very ill, to the point where he doesn't go out in public. And whatever condition that he has, I'm not familiar with it, but it sounds really, really challenging. I mean, oozing and bleeding and smells, just, anyways, she's sharing with me. And, you know, I took a picture on my phone of the picture that I drew of the cocoon with the light emerging from it. And Spirit told me to show that to her. And so I did. And I was able to pass on Kenneth's message to someone else. And it was such a gift, because I wouldn't have had that to give if it wasn't for this group. And I told her, I said, you know, she said, I'm trying to get my son to come out, to go into the world, to, you know, I'm horribly distressed by him being isolated. And I pulled out my phone. I showed her the picture. And I said, you know, perhaps we can look at your son as being in a cocoon, and that there's nothing wrong, and that there's beauty in there that's waiting to emerge. And if we pry at the cocoon and pick at it and try to encourage it and steward it to emerge, it's not going to work. But if we love the cocoon and we surround the cocoon, I said, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. Just love where he's at right now. He's in this messy, gooey, icky, weird cocoon, and we know what comes out of that. And you know, it was such a gift to me, because I watched her energy just go down, and she shed tears, and she expressed the pain of what's going on for her, losing her husband and watching her son suffer and all this. And it's like we connected to radical love. And I watched her energy come right back up. The tears dried up. She got a smile on her face, and I walked away from her, and it was a gift to me. I did nothing for her. She did everything for me. I just wanted to share that, because that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for this group. Really.
I want to say thank you, Marcy, because I needed someone to remind me of my own message today. Because even as I speak, I can feel the cocoon. And that was what I said at the beginning of the call is I got to allow this. My mental illness came when I resisted it and judged it. So I'm going to try something completely new. I'm going to allow it. This is where the training wheels comes off and we you know, instead of reaching out, I'll still reach out to other people. I don't, maybe I'm not done with that, but ultimately I join with J and HS. Ultimately, that's what all these teachers are pointing to, is the how. These teachers are come out of the woodwork to say it can be done. It can be done. If I had thought it could have been done 35 years ago, I would have done it. That's why I keep using the word faith. And as far as Renita Morijani goes, yeah, just been one of my trailblazers too.
She didn't just die of cancer and come back. She died of cancer, came back, and healed her whole body with her mind quickly.
See, this is where I get, if we just say I'm a body, I'm not a body, I can't hear it. And it seems very enticing in the very beginning just to say I am not a body. But what we would call that in the 12 steps, we would call that the pink cloud period. And everyone's got to go through it where we find these truths in the beginning and we just want to say it's that simple. And in the beginning it can be that simple, but it's sort of like the 3-month romance that I'm emerging from. A lot of us have to bite our lip because then the work really begins. So when I hear a mystic like Anita Morijani come and walk us through the truth, that the ultimate truth, she's not a Course in Miracles student, but she's given the Course in Miracles message that we are not bodies. We had a whole Zoom call entitled Ego Backlash, Not Mental Illness, and all of us here have discussed it. We get blessed and graced with these powerful truths that just light us up. And those of us who have been around the block, more times than we like to admit, have to bite our lip and just patiently, because the same person who was lighting up and on the street corner with a megaphone, proselytizing, is going to come crawling back. We're going to have to just scrape them off the floor. And for those of us who have been scraped off the floor by others, our only intention is to soften the blow when it arrives. Please be gentle with the phrases and the cliches. Be very gentle with them. They're to be honored and respected, not to be quoted.
Can I share a story? I didn't need a Morijani story.
Please do.
I'm gonna give a little backstory real quick, and then I have to go because I have guests. I'm gonna have to go get ready. It's a Course in Miracles story.
That's good. We'll make it the last because we're at 12:59. So go for it, buddy. You'll close us out.
Okay. Okay. I've been a course student for like 20 plus years. And in 2007, I was diagnosed with a illness that most people would think was deadly, whatever. And so I really threw myself into the course and I kept asking, like, there's a place in the course where it says joy is the closest emotion on earth to heaven. And I was like, what? Like, okay, what is this joy? And I'm like, what? I don't think I know this joy. I knew pleasure. I was wrestling with addiction, drug addiction at the time. And so I knew what pleasure was. I was a pleasure seeking missile. And long story short, after I asked this question to Spirit, I I learned about hooping, which is hoop dance, dancing with a hula hoop. And when I learned about it, I bought this big hoop and I put music on, and like I swear from the root chakra to my crown, I just I like lit up with this joy, and I couldn't stop hooping. And every time I'd hoop, I'd invite spirit, and I just like, oh my, I'd spend hours hooping. And at the time I was kind of beating myself up. I was 39 years old, and but I just kept doing it because it felt so good, and it was better than the drugs just to hoop. Fast forward a couple of years goes by. I'm now living in San Diego. I'm hooping like every day on the beach. I kind of really don't have a job. I'm looking for a job. Somebody says I should go talk to this guy at the Chopra Center who's the event coordinator. Fast forward, I meet him, we connect. He gives me a job. All of a sudden, I'm teaching hoop dance in the morning at Seduction of Spirit, which is their week-long introduction to the Chopra Center. I'm teaching on the lawn. I'm mic'd up on a stage, teaching like to 100 people. And that very first week I was there, all these miracles are coming in. Eckhart Tolle was the guest speaker, and Wayne Dyer shows up. And so now Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, and Deepak are on stage. And because I'm a teacher that week, I get VIP seating. So I'm like 2 seats behind Eckhart. And then there's Wayne Dyer. And I'm like, what is happening? And then Friday morning, Anina Morjani is the guest speaker. And I've been listening to her CD in my car on repeat for the past 6 months. On repeat. I walk out of her talk. The Jefferson Center is a big event. There's like 500 people. And I walk out, and afterwards, when everybody's still inside, you know, whatever, there's a bookstore outside. So usually books speak to me. And so I walked around, and I'm looking for kind of a book, but I asked, Holy Spirit, is there something here that I should have? And I didn't have much money at the time, but some women had hired me that morning to give them a private hoop lesson. So I had $50 in my pocket. And as I walked around, I came across this table that had jewelry. And I'm like, well, I don't need jewelry, but this necklace spoke to me. And I was like, well, what is this? What is this? I couldn't stop looking at it. Sorry. And the woman that was selling it, she goes, oh, isn't that lovely? And I said, yes, how much is it? She said, it's $95. And I said, oh, okay, well, I don't have that kind of money right now. She goes, well, you're a teacher, right? And I said, yeah. She says, well, it's $50 cash if you don't have cash for a teacher. I pull it out of my pocket and I give it to her, and I put this necklace over my head. And I don't know what these symbols mean at the time. There's Ganesh on one side and Om on the other. At the time, I had no idea what those were. And then fast forward the next day, this guy, I don't know if you guys know David G. He was like the president of the Chopra Center at the time. He was speaking, and he was talking about his journey to God, and that the Om, he was in India and he was with a priest, and they were journeying, and he woke up one morning and the priest was gone, but the Om symbol was laying next to him, and Ganesh, and that was the opening to his spiritual path. And I'm listening to him and I'm wearing this and I'm like, what? And so it's just interesting how like spirit works, right? Because I mean, those are all symbols of what we're talking about, of Jesus, of Christ, of conscious, of this beautiful divine presence that is here for us in so many beautiful ways. The hoop for me was this magical gift from the spirit that lifted me out of my darkness, that showed me this way of being in the world that is light and playful and free. And it gave me permission to set aside all the weight I've been carrying for so long, that I had to perform, that I had to be a certain way, I had to act straight, I had to be serious, I had to earn, I had to produce. I had to, all these rules and regs that I've been taught by my Christian Mormon upbringing. I was shedding these things. Every time I got in that hoop, I was shedding these labels and this weight that had been put on me for so many years. And Kenneth's been with me at a couple of retreats, and I tend to bust out the hoop when I feel inspired. And for like Marcy, you love to paint. I don't know. I know Jody, she has all kinds of beautiful things she does. I don't know Mary at all, so forgive me. But for me, and David says this, we talk about David. David says the Spirit likes to play. The Spirit is joyful. The Spirit wants us to be in joy. And I guess maybe that's the message I came out here to share today. I don't know. I all of a sudden felt inspired to come say hi to you guys. And I don't know. I just want to leave that with you guys, that we can do this work and pound our heads against it. But as Kenneth and I are listening to Keith Kavanaugh, I'm not sure if everybody else is or not, but he keeps saying it's simple. It's simple. And that's what David's message, and that's what Jesus' message is. It's simple. We can let go of these shoulds and stop shoulding ourselves and return to the child. Those pictures in that book were beautiful, Marcy, because he was hanging out with the children, because they are light and they are free and they're innocent and they're playful and they're spontaneous. And so that's the message I want to leave you guys today. Go be spontaneous. Be in the joy of the Spirit today. And I love you. It was an honor to be here with you guys. And thank you, Ken, for being the beautiful witness to this teaching that you are. And yeah, love you guys.
Thanks, buddy. All right, so this is Kenneth Price. This is Sunday, December 17th. I've been here with Jody, Marcy, Sean, and Mary. It's been a tough call for me. I can't tell you that I'm in the playful mode. I can't tell you I've been unicorns and rainbows. As a matter of fact, I'm hurting like hell. But there's a Course in Miracles. When the going gets tough, get going and just show up. So I'm just going to document this for the YouTube archive. You guys can have this Zoom room as long as you need to. I got to go run to Walmart. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave your comments below. And if you'd like to join us, this call is just going to be one week at a time from here on forward until I can, emerge from the next this latest cocoon that I find myself in. But as it appears, people showed up this week, and it was helpful, and that's my contribution. I'm only here to be helpful. All right, so God bless. We'll see you all next week, and may the force be with you. Thanks.